Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome to number 21 of the Halloween movie review series. I still have to catch up on it. I know I said I was going to do some yesterday, but it got kind of late, so I put it on the back burner. But yeah, I am going to catch up. It actually may be by Friday afternoon I'll be all caught up with at least day 27, because I don't know if I'll catch up with it all today, but we'll have to wait and see. But let's get right into number 21. And in this video, I will be reviewing Ghostbusters 2. You know, they decided to make a second one, obviously because of the success of the first one. Originally, they tried to make this a TV show. From what I've been reading, it says that they tried to make it an animated TV show called The Real Ghostbusters. And originally, I don't really know if it was as successful, and it wasn't the same as the original Ghostbusters. So Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Ivan Reitman, weren't very comfortable with it. So the original film was intended to be conclusive, and they wished to work on another project. But then eventually, as I talked about, they agreed and created a second script. They don't really go in. There's no really any other detail on it. They just kind of went and made the spin-off movie, and that's kind of how it was. Not really anything left to say about it. So this movie was, but yeah, so I'm just going to get right into the movie. This movie was directed by Ivan Reitman, and he also produced the movie. It was written by Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. The music was done by Randy Eldman. Michael Chapman did the cinematography, and it was edited by Don Camberg and Sheldon Kahn. It was the company that produced it was Columbia Pictures. It also this time in this case distributed the movie. I think that was different in the last film. And this movie came out on June 16th, 1989, and it had a $37 million budget. So, this movie had a little bit more of a budget than the last one did. The last one I think had like $30 million. You can see that more money went into this movie. And yeah, I'm just gonna get right into the movie. This movie was not bad, but it wasn't great. I thought it was kind of average. I didn't think that. I don't want to say this movie sucked, because it really wasn't a bad movie. I think the problem with this movie was it just didn't come off as great as the original did, and it didn't really do anything new, and it just kind of came off kind of and it had a lot of scenes that didn't really deliver that were in it. What saved the movie, I think, was Bill Murray. Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd's, and pretty much the cast saved this movie. But the movie kicks right off. This is, we pretty much find out that after everything that had happened in the first movie, Ghostbusters went out of business. They got a ton of lawsuits after the damage that was caused after the events of the first film, which kind of was a shitty thing to do. They got all these lawsuits, even though they went and saved the fucking town. That was kind of stupid, and was kind of weird. So, but yeah, so the whole town was Ghostbusters had like so many lawsuits that it went out of business. So each guy went on to do his own thing. Egon, Egon ended up working in a laboratory conducting experiments into human emotion. Ray Stantz, he owns a cult bookstore, but him and Winston also work, and where they host parties as the Ghostbusters, but they're not really very popular. They tried doing that earlier in the film, and it didn't really work out. And Peter Bakeman's now he hosts a TV show which is called I don't remember the exact name of it. He owns a he pretty much owns a TV show that has to do with psychic powers and stuff. So the movie starts off. We open right back up with Dana. We pretty much find out that she has a kid now. His name is Oscar, and when she puts this, and she's wheeling him in a stroller. And when she goes away from the stroller for a little bit, the stroller just starts rolling down the street by itself, and she tries to go after it. They do this. We were. Everybody almost hits it. Cars are stopping to make sure they don't hit this stroller, and eventually the stroller just stops, and Dana's able to save Oscar. So she goes to Egon about it, and she asks him a bunch of questions about what happened, and they said they're going to look into it. We pretty much find out that her and Peter Venkman aren't a thing anymore. She had married somebody else and had a kid with Oscar. But we find out that this guy, they didn't end on good terms, and he got a really good job somewhere else, so he moved into that direction, which kind of sucked for her. And when Peter Venkman comes over, he twists Ray's ears so that way they can forcing him to tell him who it was, because she didn't want Peter Venkman to know about it. So then they go over to Dana's house. They investigate Oscar. Peter Venkman was making these jokes that just weren't funny, about how he could have been the dad, and pretty much trying to flirt with Dana. And we find out the reason they broke up is because Peter Venkman didn't really treat her all that well. Every time she brought up marriage, she put it off, and then he introduced her as like her side chick. So that's why. So she wasn't treating her the greatest. Then pretty much they're doing these comedy stuff, and they don't find anything wrong with Oscar. They don't find anything supernatural about him. So then Dana takes her to the scenery where Oscar was being Oscar's stroller was being wielded by itself, and the Ghostbusters dig a hole. They actually had gotten confronted by police officers, and they pretend to be road workers, and they lower Ray down, and Ray sees this goop, this like purple red goop, pink red goop that's down there. He gets a sample of it, and and it's like a stream of it too. Like it's just right into the New York tunnel. And when and the game pulls them up, but then they pretty much get arrested. They get sued by New York for digging holes, and we also found out that they weren't supposed to be doing any ghost or new supernatural type things, because they had gotten a restraining order to do so. So they go through court. Louis Tully actually was their lawyer, and they're pretty much telling him everything that he should say. And then they're about to be arrested. Pretty much, they're about to be put away in jail for a while, for like 2 years. And then the goop that was picked up with the sample starts sizzling, because the judge is just going off. He's talking about how there's no such thing as ghosts and stuff. And then ghosts pop up right out of this goop, and this chases them off. The lawyer that was trying to sue them gets dragged away by one of them, and the judge, seeing all this stuff happen, reverses his decision and allows them to, and he takes out the restraining order, and they release him from the restraining order. So then they attack the ghost and put it in the traps, and then we find out that Ghostbusters are back, baby. And they go through this montage of Ghostbusters being back now. Pretty much it was about the same type of montage. you know, we meet Janine again, and she's the secretary. She looks different now. She has like orange hair, and they have commercials for it. Lewis is actually now the accountant for him. So then they start to look more into this case going on with Dana Barrett. Dana Barrett, we also found out, works at the Museum of Modern Art. She paints there, and I'm trying to remember what his name was. Because I don't remember the teacher's name, because I just don't. It was Genox Foya. Yeah. I don't know how to say his name, but Dr. Genzo. He pretty much is an artist, pretty much. And there's this painting that's in there. He gets possessed by it, and he gets worshipped, and he wants to come back as a new form. So he wants a child. So obviously the child that got chosen was Oscar. And as this continues to happen, Doctor, I'm just gonna call him Doctor Poa, continues to go ask Dana for the child, and he obviously had a thing for it anyways. So the Ghostbusters get suspicious about this group. They have been collecting it. We find out that negative energy sets off this group, but there's positive energy. They play a song, and it actually dances with the toaster to it. That was a really bad scene. And then later on, the Ghostbusters go to take pictures of this, painting, where because this painting, Dana had assumed was suspicious, so they go to take pictures of it. We find out there's some sort of supernatural stance behind it. We find out that this guy, um, by this guy Vigo the Carpathian, who we find out was a legendary Triton and magic trapped in a painting in the gallery, and we find out he was like a famous magician, and he had died. He didn't even die of old age. He was hung and pretty much had everything done to him, shot everything. He was killed, and the guys are expecting this, and Ray gets like hypnotized by it. We don't know why, but he does, and Winston has to snap him out of it. We find this ended up being foreshadowing, and when they go to see what's suspicious about it, they see that there's something supernatural about it. We find out that this place is actually kind of like when you look in this painting, when you saw the pictures of it and everything, it was actually that abandoned train station where all that goop was taking place, and then the door gets locked, and the pictures start to burn, and Winston comes in and breaks down the door and puts out the fire. This was weird. I'm not gonna lie. It was a weird. They had a lot of weird scenes in this movie. So then later on, Dana goes to give Oscar a bath, and the goop comes out of the bathtub and tries to suck up Oscar and Dana, and then so they run away to she runs away to Peter's, and she stays at Peter's for a few days. And Peter, throughout this time, kept trying to win back the love of Dana, and then he offers to go out. They offer to go out, and as she then the rest of the Ghostbusters come up and they want Peter to go with them to go underneath this tunnel and investigate what's down there. Peter refuses. He just is like, well, I'm going to go out. He actually makes it seem like that Dana didn't want to go, so he's like, well, I can't do anything about it. Peter Venkman came off as like a huge douchebag and just doesn't really do anything to help out with the Ghostbusters. He's just, yeah, it was just kind of stupid. So they go down there. They see that they see heads, heads that have been cut off just randomly down there, and Winston tries to get a sample of the goop, but and tries to see how deep it is, but the thing just pulls them right down with him. So all the gang jump in to try to go save him. They all come out and they all want to beat the shit out of each other, and they find out that this was causing negative energy. And New York was such a negative town that it actually created all this goop. That's what this goop fuels off of. And then they go to a restaurant and tell Peter about it. Peter and Dana had finally gotten back together. You know, Dana revealed that she only had left because he never was confident in himself and always put off marriage. And Peter says that I need someone to tell me all the time my flaws. So they finally make up and kiss. And the gang comes in and tells Peter what happened. Peter then, because everyone's acting so crazy, the whole Ghostbusters get arrested because they were interrupting the restaurant. I don't really get why Peter was arrested. He had every right to be at the restaurant. He really didn't do anything wrong. I don't know why he was fucking arrested. So then Janine and Lewis were babysitting Oscar. They put him to sleep. Lewis and Janine have sex, and they actually become a couple. I actually thought that was actually awesome. I thought that made sense. They seemed like they would be a good fit for each other, so I actually liked that part. And Dana comes in, and Dr. Poa, Vigo wants to have the child so that way he can be taken in, so that way he can become back in that child's form. And he says that he says if he does this, Dana will be the wife and the mother of Vigo. So then the window opens, and when Dana goes back in the room, she sees that Oscar's off the ledge of the building, like he's gonna jump off. So Dana tries to go save him, but then Vigo comes up, grabs it as a ghost form, and kidnaps Oscar. The Ghostbusters don't know about this. The Ghostbusters try to tell the mayor what's happening. The mayor doesn't believe him. So the mayor was running to be governor at the time. He didn't really want to be associated with this. So then and the mayor's assistant Jack Hardemere has them get committed to a psychiatric hospital, which was a very villainous thing to do. He pretty much set them up to do that, and then when shit starts to go bad, and the whole group starts to rise up, and all the ghosts start invading. The mayor's wondering where the Ghostbusters are, and his assistant reveals that he had him committed because he didn't want to get in the way of this election. And then he gets mad, fires them, and has the Ghostbusters come back. The Ghostbusters come back. They come up with a plan to drive. So they can't get into the building. They try to use their proton packs to get in, but they can't. So they need some sort of positive energy. So they go and get Lady Liberty, and not making this up. This happens. And they have Lady Liberty playing to the song, I have to remember, of Higher and Higher, so that way they can get Lady Liberty to move, and since she's positively charged, they move Lady Liberty, and they're able to get into the building, and Dana acts like she was going to go along with it, and be with Dr. Poe and raise Vigo, but then she saves Oscar. They attack. They spray Vigo. They spray Dr. Poe with the positive charge, red goop, and then Vigo comes out of the painting. He attacks the Ghostbusters, paralyzes them. Peter tries to insult him, and then when he hears everybody being all positive, this actually starts to weaken him, so he's unable to possess Baby Oscar, and then but then he's able to possess Ray because he had been hypnotizing earlier, so they spray Ray with the positive stuff, and then that was pretty much the end of the film. The end ends off the same. They leave us these great big heroes, and then that was it. Overall, this movie I thought was pretty average. Actually, it was not. It wasn't a bad sit through, but you really don't need to see this movie. I didn't think it did the first one any justice. It was just very average, very in the middle. So if I had to rate it, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. I think what saves the movie is the cast. They did have some good scenes. I gotta admit, when they put when the Ghostbusters finally came back as Ghostbusters and put on the proton packs, I loved that scene. I actually liked the stuff they were doing with Janine and Lewis. Lewis actually too had become a Ghostbuster. He puts on the Ghostbuster uniform and he sprays down the place, and that was actually really cool. So it had some good scenes in it and stuff, but it also had just some weird scenes, and it was just a very in the middle movie. It was just an average movie, nothing special. I definitely wouldn't recommend it. I would definitely recommend you watch the first one. The first one's really good. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So now let me go through the box office draw and stuff. This movie drew in $215.4 million box office, so it still did fairly well. It actually, with the box office, it was the biggest 3-day opening weekend gross in history with $29.5 million. A record that was broken 1 year later by Batman, which was $40.5 million. Eventually, it grossed into $112.4 million in North America and $102.9 million internationally, for a total of $215.3 million worldwide. The critics, like I said, gave mixed reviews. Some people thought it was just average. Some people didn't like it. Some people liked it. So, the cast, though, you had Bill Murray back as Peter Venkman. I thought he did a pretty good job in his role, but he had such a better role in the last film. I thought he came off kind of, his character wasn't as great in this film as it was in the last film. Ray Stantz played Dan Aykroyd. I thought he did a good job as Dan Aykroyd. Dana Barrett was played by Sigourney Weaver. Thought she did a good job in her role. Egon Spengler played Harold Ramis. Louis Tully was played by Rick Lawrence. Winston Zedmore was played by Ernie Hudson. He really didn't have any big role in this movie again. So, Janine Molinas was played by Andy Potts. Dr. Genwaz Poa was played by Peter McNichol. You couldn't really understand half the words that he was saying because he was trying to be like an artist type of person, so you didn't really know what he was saying half the time. Judge Stephen Wexler, this is the judge that was persecuting. Well, this is the judge that was in charge of the case in the earlier film, was played by Harris Yulin. I thought he did a fantastic job as the judge. Prosecuting attorney Kitten was played by Janet Margolin. Mayor Lenny was played by David Margules. Jack Mayor was played by Kurt Fuller. Baby Oscar was played by William T. Jeskendorf and Hank G. Jeskendorf II. Viggo the Carpathian was played by William von Homburg. Slimmer was played by was voiced by Ivan Whitman. And some notable cast members that they have on here, I'm just going to read it word for word. Some notable cast members in the film included one of Bill Murray's Sullivan's Brian Doyle Murray, who played the psychiatric doctor, Dan Aykroyd's niece, Karen Humbo, who played one of the school children. I don't remember her at all. And Ben Steen, who played a public works official for the mayor. Jason Reitman, son of director Ivan Reitman, plays the boy who insults the Ghostbusters at a birthday party. Church Merlin is the dock supervisor who witnesses the arrival of the Titanic. And Philip Baker Hall is the city police chief. Philip Baker Hall actually is in, no, never mind, no he's not. But yeah, I actually forgot to mention it. They had like a lot of this past stuff come back, and they included the Titanic, which I thought was funny. Bobby Brown is the doorman to Gracie Manson, who, when the Ghostbusters go to see the mayor of New York City, also performing on the soundtrack. The physical role of Viggo was played by William von Homburg, and his dialogue was dubbed by Max von Sydow. So, it's all the cast members. Like I said, overall, this movie I thought was average. I also didn't really care for some of the songs they used in this movie. Like, they completely revamped the Ghostbusters song when they came back in the montage. I wasn't a fan of that. They didn't need to do that, so it was just weird. But overall, this movie I thought was average. Like I said, 5 out of 10. But that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Since I have a ton of videos coming up these next few days, I'm not going to do any plugs until I'm fully caught up. So that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.